Hello, and welcome to my YouTube channel. Not so long ago, I did a video on GPS accuracy. The Charge 6 deserves its rating of 0 out of 5 rating using full GPS mode. The level of accuracy was completely way off, and this is consistent with the Charge 5 as well. In this video, I am going to show you why dynamic mode is the best alternative, and should be the default mode when doing any GPS activity. If you are new to my videos, I like to keep my explanations short, easy to understand, and to the point. So that way, you can get the answers you want right away. With that said, I just want to share with you my experience using dynamic mode. It's probably a lot easier to start off with some of the best things about my experience with the device. GPS accuracy is definitely a lot better, and I use the word better in quotation marks because there are some things for you to be aware of, which I will explain later in the video. Connecting is much faster, and the GPS battery consumption is 5 times more economical than built-in GPS mode. On average, I would use around 25% of battery life using GPS mode. Whereas dynamic mode you would use around 6% per hour. However, the overall experience wasn't too bad. In terms of negatives, well, here it all is. Reconnecting when a signal is lost is too slow. If reconnection does not occur within 3 minutes, the GPS activity will more than likely abort. Which is why I don't think the Charge 6 compares well against a high-end smartwatch. With those particular watches, they tend to have additional support to maintain a continuous GPS connection. I will explain more about this later in the video. After doing 3 different tests, I have given my experience a rating of 10 out of 15. After taking a moment to reflect on this, I do believe that this rating is fair, and it's a big improvement from the built-in GPS mode rating. As you can see, the device did not do too well in the hard level test, but I will explain the reasons later in the video. In terms of key discussion points, here it all is. If you are new to my videos, please do take the time to go over the first 2 discussion points. It's important for me to show you how I rate a device. As I mentioned earlier, I keep my promise to keep my explanations short and easy to understand. Otherwise, for those that have watched my videos before, my testing and rating process has not changed. You can go to the description and click on the timestamps provided. Otherwise, on to the next discussion point. As a rule of thumb, if the device can connect to multiple satellites, GPS accuracy is greatly improved. As you can see, the Charge 6 is greatly disadvantaged. It's also the reason why the Charge 6 does not compare against a high-end smartwatch, because they tend to have a more superior built-in capabilities and additional support such as assisted or dual-band frequency. With dynamic mode, the Charge 6 can use your phone's GPS to connect to the satellites. The advantage of this is that it provides a continuous GPS connection. Whenever an error occurs, the continuous GPS connection is broken, and the satellites need more time to connect to the receiver, which is your device. This error term is known as multipathing, and there are some examples of this in the video. I hope this makes sense, and now let's move on to the next discussion point. How I test and rate a device is a little unorthodox, but it can provide the information that you want and trust. I have my own process, and I follow simple tasks that provides an unbiased rating. Tasks 3 and 4 are the most important. Especially task 4. If a device can provide a tighter variance, then that device should be recognized for greater accuracy. The map you see is an example of what I go through when providing this information. The multicolored line is the GPS activity, and the red dotted line is the actual path taken. Please note that the red dotted line is hand-drawn onto the satellite map. Then, I pick out the misalignments. As you can see, I have chosen 3 random points, highlighted in the 3 yellow circles, to take measurements. In the end, this is the process that I go through to provide the results. Once I have tallied up the measurements, it's time to provide results. Now, when it comes to GPS accuracy, you have to allow for some level of variance. Any device that provides a tighter variance is rewarded with the 0 misalignment, and they should be recognized for it. As the variance gets bigger, can have an effect on the overall rating. Any device that performs poorly should be recognized as well. Anyway, once I have my categories, I can now provide a rating. As you can see in the description is the guidelines that I use to assign a rating. I normally do around 6 to 8 different checks when I am reviewing GPS activity. That way it gives some assurance that the results you see has some context. This is my way of providing unbiased test results. I hope it all makes sense on how I test and rate a device. Let's now move on to the easy level results. When it comes to the easy level test, I follow 4 simple rules, and I have listed those on the right of the screen. On the left of the screen is what the easy level test looks like at ground level. At easy level, I tend to keep the obstructions to a minimum. For example, the terrain is flat, no tall buildings nearby, no steep elevations. These are the kind of things that can impact accuracy. Anyway, let's now take a look at the final results. And here it is. The blue line is the GPS activity, and the red dotted line is the planned path that I have chosen. As you can see, both lines overlap each other very well, and dynamic mode deserves its rating of 5 stars at this level. Let's now compare the results with full GPS mode. Now, I have labeled each test result, but what a big difference between both modes. If we look at the dynamic results first, I was consistently getting the same result every time. As for full GPS mode, this one was the best out of 6 attempts. The device did not track my start, and I was very lucky to still get something out of it. Otherwise, the GPS activity would have been aborted. Anyway, just thought that was a nice comparison to share. In the hard level test, I choose a path where 80% of that path is through a small township. The terrain is still flat, so elevation will not challenge the device. However, when you walk through a small township, you are surrounded by tall buildings, or you walk by nearby tall buildings. The main obstruction here is the tall buildings. Walking nearby tall buildings can break the continuous GPS connection, and therefore cause delay and provide errors. On the left is what the hard level test looks like at ground level, and it gives you an idea of what challenges are ahead. Let's now take a look at the test results. The device performed really well at the start, but the accuracy fell away once I came close to the tall building areas. There was one major error that I found. I have pinpointed the location with a red 1 symbol. All it takes is one major error with my rating system, which will automatically give the device a 1-star rating. Unfortunately, I could not connect the Charge 6 with a third-party app. Using a satellite image is a lot clearer, but hopefully the tracking activity gives you an idea how far off the device was at this level. Also, I had trouble getting results with this test, and most of the time, I was getting something like this. This is an example where the Charge 6 aborted during GPS activity. The device completely missed the start point and finish point, therefore the device guesses. If you are walking nearby tall buildings, or walking through a town or city, just be aware that the GPS activity could potentially look like this. Anyway, let's now take a look at the very hard level test results. Very hard test is my favorite test to do. Hiking is a hobby that I love to do, and here in New Zealand we have so many hiking trails to choose from. Anyway, in this test, I will plan my path through one of my favorite hiking trails. There are a lot of challenges in this test, and the most obvious is that the Charge 6 does not have a built-in barometer or altimeter. This sensor can measure air pressure, then from this information, the device can tell you what your current altitude or rise in elevation. Instead, my cell phone will be doing most of the donkey work in this test. My phone does have an altimeter and barometer. Elevation will be a big challenge for the device, so it would be interesting to see. Other challenges will be cliff faces. They can also cause the same kind of errors as the hard level test. It's all about maintaining a continuous GPS connection. Lastly, on the left is what the very hard level test looks at ground level. Let's now take a look at the test results for this level. Now, if I am being honest, I was very skeptical on how the test will turn out. To my surprise, it didn't do too bad. As mentioned before, my phone will be doing most of the donkey work. I used a Samsung S10 Plus for this test, in case you were wondering. I only picked one minor error, therefore the device deserves its final rating of 4 out of 5 at this level. This is a close-up view of the error. I normally use satellite images for these types of tests. Fitbit does not pair well with third-party apps. It's not the greatest image, but a slight error did occur. In conclusion, dynamic mode performed really well during the hiking test. In my experience, the results were very consistent in terms of accuracy. So, if you are someone that likes to do a lot of mountain walking or hiking, the Charge 6 is fairly reliable when you use dynamic mode. In terms of where dynamic mode sits in the market, the orange arrow is where it would be placed. Please note that the rating table are based on devices that I own and tested using the same process. Also, I won't be adding dynamic mode to the rating table because the devices that are ranked from 1 down to 8 manage GPS activity a lot better. A lot of the devices that I test always seem to fail the hard test very badly. Which is why a rating of 10 is the most I have given to a device so far. All watches that are ranked from 1 down to 8 end devices. If you take a look at the NOAA built-in GPS sensors, they all have the ability to connect to 5 satellite systems and additional support. Hope that makes sense. Now for the final conclusion. In terms of overall experience, dynamic mode is by far more useful than built-in GPS mode. Don't bother using full GPS mode and instead, use dynamic mode permanently. I also hope that the GPS test results has answered any questions that you may have. It's a little unorthodox, but I hope there is enough information to help you decide if the device is right for you, or for current users. It's more about whether dynamic mode is worth using. The only downside is that I think the Charge 6 relies on the phone's capabilities too much. I was trying to come up with some clever way to provide proof, but it's a strong belief I have that's still to be proven. If I was to take a guess, I would say that the phone probably does 70% of the work. You only have to look at the easy level test results earlier in the video. In comparison, full GPS mode was completely way off, and the test results I showed you was the best one out of 6 attempts. The other 5 results was completely different and never consistently the same. If your phone's GPS tracking is reliable, then if you plan your path similar to my easy level test, then you should get the same results as I did. And lastly, if you are nearby buildings, just be aware that GPS accuracy is likely to be impacted. Also, if you haven't seen my GPS accuracy test for full GPS mode, I will leave a link in the description. Thank you so much for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe to the channel for future videos.